Hi, everyone. Thank you for choosing fun and joining me for the Carnival Cruise Line's January wave catch up. My name is Irene Godzik-Ayala, and I am the Business Development Manager for Pro Travel Network for Carnival Cruise Line. And we'll be really quick for some of you. It's closer to evening hours rather than late afternoon for those of us in California. So it'll be a quick transition, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. So many of you are familiar with our destinations. We're currently going to Bermuda, the Bahamas, Mexico, the Caribbean, one of our most popular, Cuba, as well as seasonally with Alaska, Canada, New England, Hawaii, and Europe. With 26 ships in our fleet, can you believe it? 27 soon to be on the way later this year. These are all of our home ports. We are within 5 hours drive time for 50% of the country. So for Seattle, that's a seasonal home port for our Alaska itineraries. We do sail year-round from Los Angeles currently. And then coming later this year, into March of 2020, we'll be sailing from San Diego, and then in 2020, we'll be sailing year-round from San Francisco, doing 4 and 5 day itineraries down to Ensenada and Mexico. But then we sail year-round from Galveston, New Orleans, Mobile, Tampa, all the rest of Florida, as you can see, Jacksonville, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami. We are starting in April to be year-round from Charleston. For those of you who are looking for Charleston departures, the Carnival Sunshine will get there in April to do 4, 5, and 7 day itineraries year-round. And then seasonally from Norfolk and New York, and then year-round from Baltimore. So depending on your clients' calendars and their wishes and location to go out from, there's plenty of availability from all of these home ports to choose from. Okay, we have lots of new ships coming out and a ship shuffle. We have ships moving into different home ports, so we'll go over a couple of those now in primary markets. As most of you know, the Carnival Horizon arrived in April of last year, actually. Pardon the slip, I almost said this year. So she got into our possession in April, did Europe for last summer, cruised New York from May up until September of last year, and then moved down to her home port of Miami, where she's currently doing 6 and 8 day itineraries for our guests. Then the Carnival Panorama, which is coming to Long Beach in December. So she's currently under construction. She is now in the stages of what we call wet dock. So she's floating, and the Fincantieri shipyard is currently working on making her insides be very pretty and fun for our upcoming guests. She'll get into Long Beach on December 11th. She'll operate a 3-day quick itinerary down to Ensenada to get her on her regular 7-day schedule doing the Mexican Riviera to Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan, and Cabo on every Saturday home port departure. One of the features that the Carnival Panorama will have when she gets here in December is the Sky Zone. We have taken out the IMAX theater on her, and we have replaced her with the first ever indoor trampoline park and challenge zone at sea. This is a partnership with our Sky Zone stores that are located across the country as well as globally if you go to their website. And she'll be located on deck 7 and 8. That's a 2-deck high facility, providing jumping and trampoline fun for all ages. So as we get more details for this feature on board the Panorama, those additional details will definitely be relayed to everyone, including pricing. There will be a small fee to participate in the Sky Zone feature on board. But if you possibly caught our float in the Rose Parade on New Year's Day, you may have seen the Sky Zone jumpers participating and doing flips and jumps along the parade route. Just a peek at our Long Beach terminal. This is the first revamp of the home ports. So we have a debut to the Spruce Goose hanging in the terminal because we did take over, if you're familiar with it, we did take over the whole dome. We previously only had half of it. So the old way is that when guests arrived to the check-in terminal, they did have to wait outside because nobody believed that it rained ever in California. And for most of us here in the state, if you look out the window, you beg to differ. But it's what a New York meets Central Park meets the mountains type of feel when you go inside the terminal. Long benches and check-in counters await for those guests who need to visit the guest logistics staff. But for most, if they were to complete their fun pass ahead of time, they scan and their boarding pass is printed out. The guest logistics staff will scan it upon their arrival. And as long as they're within their assigned boarding zone time frame, they're on board from the garage within 15 minutes. It is an impeccable improvement to what the boarding times used to be. And that makes a difference because we now have all of our staterooms, our cabin keys in the staterooms. You no longer get those in the terminals. So with that small switch, we have drastically improved the boarding enhancement for our guests. And that is home port wide. So whether you're getting on board in Miami or in Long Beach, the keys are in the cabins, and that makes a huge difference with the boarding experience. It makes it much faster. Here are some other pictures of the Long Beach terminal. These arcade games are like the old school arcade games that you may have played in the 80s or early 90s. They are complimentary to the guests waiting in the terminal for boarding. There's Pac-Man, Tetris, and I think Ms. Pac-Man from what I can remember. But these pictures on the right-hand side are our captain's lounge. It definitely helps when we have high guest counts for our suite guests and platinum and diamond members who may have gotten there a little bit early, waiting for the vessel to clear, so that we have somewhere to relax prior to boarding commencing. Okay, we've made a couple announcements for ship changes over the holidays and into the early part of the new year. The Carnival Triumph will become the Carnival Sunrise in spring of 2019. So that's just a couple weeks away. She'll go through about a 5 to 6 week dry dock where she will be completely transformed into a whole brand new ship. We did this a couple years ago, if anybody can remember, when the Carnival Destiny became the Carnival Sunshine. So we'll be taking the Triumph and doing the exact same thing with different amenities and features that'll be announced later and she'll become the Carnival Sunrise. So the next slide will show what her sailings will be once she becomes a Carnival Sunrise. Some of her amenities, she'll have Cucina del Capitano, Fahrenheit 555 Steakhouse, the Chef's Table, Guy's Burger Bar, and Pig and Anchor Barbecue Smokehouse. And then a brand new Sports Square, Waterworks, and Serenity. But the most exciting parts are her itineraries, where she will do a series of sailings from Norfolk, New York City, as well as Fort Lauderdale. All of these itineraries are currently on sale, and to look at dates, you would be able to log in to GoCCL to view and block space, whether it's for a group or if you have a client interested, log in and see the pricing for individual cabins as well. But even if you see at the bottom, she's doing a 12-day Carnival Journeys, New York to Fort Lauderdale via the Panama Canal, and then a 14-day exotic Panama Canal, New York round trip, which are all exciting itineraries. So some good stuff if you have anybody interested in cruising on the Sunrise once she gets here. Okay, another ship that's getting a transition in 2020 is the Carnival Victory, and she will become the Carnival Radiance. So just like the Carnival Triumph becoming the Sunrise, she'll also get those featured amenities: Cucina del Capitano, our Fahrenheit 555 steakhouse, bonsai, chef's table. All of those exciting amenities will also be available to her, as well as she is also currently now on sale for the Carnival Radiance, doing these itineraries, which include Europe. We're very excited that the Radiance will be doing Europe in 2020. So if you have clients that have asked you when Europe is going to come back, this is now our first opportunity for the Radiance. She'll be doing a Barcelona round trip, 9, 10, 12, and 13-day itineraries. The dates are listed here. The last sailing from Barcelona is the 13-day transatlantic on June 11th of 2020. Then she will spend the summer in New York City, doing Canada and Bermuda cruises, and then exotic Eastern later into the summer, July and August. She will do 3 departures, well, 4 actually, my apologies, from Norfolk, Bahamas, and Cuba. The 7-day Bahamas and Cuba are in October, where then she'll get down into Port Canaveral to do more exotic Eastern and Western, as well as Cuba. All of these dates are also available in GoCCL for you to look at further. We announced also in December, actually, I think it was December 5th, that we will have a new XL class of ships featuring NLG, hydrogen gas ships, and the first one would be coming in 2020, the Mardi Gras. She was announced on the Wheel of Fortune show. That's what her name will be. We have yet to announce any other details aside from the vessel's name and a picture, which we'll see later. And we're hoping that her itineraries will be announced towards the end of the month and other surprises. And then a second XL class ship will be delivered to us. She is currently on order for 2022. Highlighting a little bit of Tampa, before the Miracle goes up to San Francisco, she will be cruising from Tampa, doing 6, 7, and 8-day itineraries, including a 14-day Panama Canal. These are some highlights of what she'll be doing, and her full itineraries and dates are also available to view in GoCCL if you have a guest that wishes to go from Tampa on a 6-day or longer itinerary. The 14-day Panama Canal is definitely a bucket list one. So while it's on sale, deposits are to lock in that low rate. I would encourage them to do that as soon as they can. And then the Carnival Legend will be doing year-round cruises from Tampa as well. She's currently doing, she's over in Australia right now, and then she normally comes over to do Alaska in the summertime. However, she'll now be doing year-round cruising from Tampa, and she'll also do 6 through 15-day itineraries where you can view full dates and pricing in GoCCL as well. But the 14-day and the 15-day Panama Canals are quite tempting. The 15-day, note that does start in San Pedro. So San Pedro is actually over in Los Angeles. It's a separate port offside from Long Beach that's right down the street, and that is October 12th of 19. So if you have anybody that's interested in departing from San Pedro, ending in Tampa, that one date is October 12th of this year, and it's during Cabo, San Lucas, Puerto Quizal, Puenteres, Panama Canal Transit, Cartagena, Santa Marta, and then Grand Cayman. So there are a couple sea days in there. Other oops, I'm so sorry. Let's go back one. Other Carnival Legend sailings, when she gets over to this side, is the 13-day Panama Canal repositioning, again, as I mentioned, from Tampa to New York City, and then from New York New York to Dover. These are all in 2020. So the first 13-day Panama Canal repositioning from Tampa to New York would be in 2020 on May 3rd. Then from New York, she'll do round trip, 2 cruises for Exotic Eastern. She will then move because she is also doing Europe. New York to Dover, Qatar's Reykjavik, Lerwick, Belfast, and Cork on June 3rd of 2020. The Norwegian fjords from Dover, and then Dover to Barcelona. All exciting things that are available to take advantage of. I also have a legend cheat sheet for all of her itineraries that she's going to be doing, because this girl's all over the place, that I'll email over to Maggie, so that way you guys can have access to it for references to where she's going and when, and it should include dates on that. So I'll be sure to send that shortly after the call. And then the Carnival Breeze, which relocated over from Galveston. She now is in Port Canaveral. She is doing a couple itineraries ranging from 6 to 14 days, as you can see here. That's also available in GoCCL for specific dates, but here are her major itineraries. And then the Carnival Liberty. She is also over in Florida on the East Coast. She's doing 3- and 4-day year-round from Port Canaveral. So quick jaunts down to the Bahamas if you have any clients that are looking for a quick getaway. The ship also does, because it's one of our bigger ships that are now starting to do the shorter runs. So guests were asking for the bigger ships to have shorter itineraries. Carnival did acknowledge that request, and they're starting to move in bigger ships to do shorter itineraries at the request of our guests. The Carnival Sunshine, as mentioned, she's moving over to Charleston, and she'll do ranging from 5 to 13-day itineraries through May of this year. And then the Carnival Elation, starting in May of 19, she will be sailing from Mobile and doing 4 to 6-day itineraries over to Nassau, Freeport, Princess Cays, Grand Turk, and Amber Cove. Okay, so this is the rendition of the Mardi Gras that we all saw, and it was debuted on the Wheel of Fortune earlier this last year, just before the holidays on December 5th. So this is a completely new look for our ships and what lies ahead for the future of Carnival, but she definitely looks like the wave of the future as we get into 2020, and she'll be coming to Port Canaveral with her itineraries being announced hopefully later this month. She will feature the first ever roller coaster at sea. So if you haven't seen the commercials for Bolt, be sure to look at those. It's a 148 feet high in the air. It's a couple cart roller coaster that we'll get more details on once the additional information for Mardi Gras is released. So we are still going to Cuba. We've actually increased the number of home ports and ships that are cruising to Cuba, as well as the itineraries and lengths that are all available in GoCCL. This is the one itinerary that guests absolutely must sail on a passport with. So when you're working with your clients, if there's any desire to go to Cuba, a passport is an absolute must. Okay, so these are all of our current home ports that will have departures to Cuba, round trips, so New York, Norfolk, Charleston, Port Canaveral, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and then Tampa. Will all feature itineraries to Cuba, and you would be able to look at ships and dates by filtering through and GoCCL and choosing Cuba as a destination. So how to get there, we'll go over some of the options from each of these ports to get down to Cuba. The first one is Tampa, which is the first port we actually started doing Cuba from. So the first ship is the Carnival Paradise, doing 5-day itineraries, Key West in Cuba. The dates and times are listed in yellow. You'll have a Key West from 8 to 5, and then an overnight in Havana. And then you have a second option of a Key West arrival at noon to 6 p.m. and then a Havana overnight, again from 7 to 6 a.m. the next day. Key West, Cuba, and Cozumel. That's a good option. So you have Key West from noon to 6, Havana from 7 to 5. So it's not an overnight, but then you would also be going to Cozumel from noon to 10 p.m. And then another 5-day option of Cuba and Cozumel, where you can see the arrival and departure times noted to the right of the ports. And then also the dates are listed for these related sailings from Tampa. If you wanted to head out from Port Canaveral, you have a 6-day option going to the Bahamas and Cuba. The itineraries are Freeport, Nassau, and then an overnight in Havana from 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. And those options are into 2020 on the Radiant. So it'll just be after the Triumph becomes, the Victory becomes the Radiance. And then from Miami, we have the Carnival Sensation doing 4 days, 5-day itineraries down to Cuba, as well as a Carnival Victory, a quick 3-day. And then Fort Lauderdale, the Sunrise will also be doing 5 days, Key West, Cuba, and Bahamas in Cuba. And then from Charleston, a 4- and a 5-day option down to Cuba. It's just Havana from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then a 5-day Bahamas in Cuba, Freeport and Havana. Freeport is 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then Havana is 9 to 6 p.m. Then the second to last option is Norfolk with the Radiance, 7-day Bahamas in Cuba, Nassau, Freeport, and Havana, departing into 2020. And then New York for the Carnival Radiance, doing a 9-day Bahamas in Cuba. So Havana as an overnight from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Half Moon Cay is from 9 a.m. to 5, which is our private island. If you haven't ever been there, it's a fantastic beach day. And then Nassau is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And those dates are available in 2020 on the Radiance. And then again, a very similar itinerary on the Carnival Sunrise with a couple more options between May through September into 2020 as well. And then wrapping up quickly, we offer a Great Vacation Guarantee, to where we've enhanced it to create a new one-of-a-kind experience, offering 100% refund for your clients. We're the only ones in the industry that offer this, and it's something that I truly believe in, because if your client is not satisfied within the first 24 hours of the cruise after departure, all they need to do is go to guest services and ask for this to be put into place. However, it does apply to U.S. and Canadian residents only, and they must be traveling on a valid passport. Once the guests ask for the Great Vacation Guarantee, the guest services team then contacts the office for flight arrangements to be made for the return home in the first port of call. It has to be asked for within the first 24 hours of departure. If it's after the first 24 hours, the ship will definitely work with the guest to try to fix whatever they can to make the experience positive. But if it's definitely within the first 24 hours, this is a great tool you can use to sell with your With Pro Travel Network, there are flyers in GoCCL that you can download and customize. If you have that guest that wants to try out a cruise vacation but is hesitant, you can have this in their back pocket that they have nothing to lose. And then if they're not happy within the first 24 hours, they can request this and get 100% refund of their cruise vacation and return travel arrangements complimentary made for debarking in the first port of call. So as we get ready or into Wave, actually, it's January 15th, believe it or not. I wish you the best selling, and I'm happy to answer any questions, Maggie.
Irene?
Hi, Maggie.
Hey. Okay. I had to get on my phone so I could hear you. Great.
Oh,
Great
okay.
presentation. Um, I know we pretty much always learn new things every time we do these webinars and stuff. Um, I just had a couple questions for you. So for our agents, like, do you guys send out like emails for fam trips or travel agent discounts that they could get or ship inspections, something that's available to our agents?
Well, all of our agent rates are available through GoCCL. When
Mm-hmm.
you're shopping for a ship and a sail date, one of the qualifiers is actually the interline rate box. So by
Okay.
them checking the interline promotion, like the interline qualifier,
Mm-hmm.
once they go in to look at more sailings and ships, after that, they would be able to choose the interline rate code. And that is their travel agent rate to take advantage of. However, with
Awesome.
our early saver promotions and different things going on, that may or may not be the best available rate for them to choose from. But it
Okay.
to answer the question, so they would want to be sure to click the interline rate on GoCCL to look at rates for themselves. I think I have a PDF I can email you on what to look for as well.
Yeah, definitely. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna open up the lines. It doesn't let me open up everybody, so the only ones that I'm able to open is for Barbara and Seafree. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them now so that Miss Irene could definitely answer that for you. If not, then um, did you display your information for them to email you if they're needing assistance?
I can email that to you and you can send it out to them.
Yeah, definitely. I don't see that they have any questions, so
Okay.
yeah. So what I'll do is if they do have questions, I'll have them email you directly. I'll definitely assist them as much as I can, but I do greatly appreciate you taking the time and doing this webinar for us. Like I
Sure.
said,
Of
we always do learn something new whenever you do these for us, so we do appreciate that on your end.
course. Sounds good.
All right, everyone. Well, everybody have a great night, and we will hear from Irene soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Maggie.